All right. Well, we are live. So thank you for those of you who are watching the replay. We are going to be talking about what to do with next steps with pay-per-click advertising. Because you might be saying to yourself, well, I feel like I've implemented some strategies and I'm starting to learn things, but I'm just not 100% sure, what are those next steps? So that's one of the things we're going to be unpacking today is just figuring out what are those next steps, the things that are going to move the needle, so to speak, and help get you going in the right direction with your PPC campaigns to make them more profitable, as well as to make them an enjoyable experience and not just something you dread, like, oh, it's going to the dentist. I got to go check my PPC campaigns, which it has been for me. So I'm just going to share some tricks that I've learned along the way that are helpful with figuring out, are your goals aligned with what you want? Some questions you could be asking yourself. So we'll get into all that, as well as, if you stick around to the end, you'll have a chance to ask questions as well. So if you could just real quick, just to make sure everybody can hear me, if you can click the little thumbs up icon, definitely lets everyone know, lets Facebook know that people are there and they can actually hear me. So that's always a beneficial thing. So we're going to get started here just in about a minute. But again, thank you for coming on. We're going to be talking about pay-per-click advertising and helping you figure out what are those next steps that you need to do now that we just had so much fun with the PPC Mastery Summit and figuring out what are the things we can do to move our businesses in the next direction. So looks like we've got on here so far, we've got Morali, Brian, and Iva. Thank you for joining. Totally love having all of you here. We've got a couple other folks as well, it looks like. So again, thank you guys for coming on, and gals for coming on the PPC Mastery Summit. My friend Morali here said, yes, I can hear you well. I'm glad to hear that, Morali. So good to see you. Glad that you are here. So we will go ahead and get started here in just a moment. But again, thank you for joining, taking this time to invest in your own growth, because I've found that there's certain investments that I make, I never lose. And one of those is on my own growth and development and figuring out kind of like, what are the next things I got to do? And then, of course, making sure I do them. So we'll walk through that here now. So, all right, everyone. So let me go ahead and share my screen here. So just to make sure everybody is in the right place, this is kind of a wrap up, so to speak, of the PPC Mastery Summit. If this is something you are interested in, we might do things like this in the future. I may bring on some more special guests. Last week, I brought on Ed Ruffin from Seller Lab. So I might bring on more people in the future, just maybe either a pop-up thing or something scheduled. We'll see. But super excited to have you guys here. So now we're going to talk about, it's not just about learning. It's about figuring out what is the next thing you can do in your business to grow things forward. Because at the end of the day, knowledge is really not power. Knowledge is potential power. So again, most of the people that are watching this right now were at the PPC Mastery Summit, which was, quite honestly, I'm going to share a little bit of background with you. I had no idea what to expect. It was something I put together in about 3 weeks. So first off, thank you for being one of the people that joined the summit. If you were indeed one of those, if you missed it, you can still purchase the recordings, as well as I might do this again in the future. So I'm going to kind of look forward here for a second. But just to kind of go back into the past, I had no idea what to expect. I had no idea if anyone was going to show up. We ended up having over 500 people register for the summit. I ended up getting 13 speakers. I thought I might be able to pull together like maybe 2 as a favor and no one would want to actually do it. Well, that was just head trash in my own brain. And so I almost let over-analysis get in the way. But what I did was I said, let me just go figure it out. And so in about a 3-week span of time, put it together using relationships of people I had, asked for contacts of other people to be speakers, and was able to put together a good lineup. And we got lots of great feedback. And, here's, just a selection of some of the feedback I got from people that were very happy with their experience, because they got all these great speakers and all these people sharing their knowledge. And the reality is, if I didn't take the initiative to do this and I let overthinking get in the way, I would have cheated all of you out of this experience. So let me go ahead and zoom in there. So just keep that in mind as you're thinking about, like, what are your next steps. One of the things I want to caution you is, not letting overthinking get in the way. And it's normal. And I'm going to give some examples of when I've done it. But before I do that, I want to see if you can relate to this. So if you watched all 14 talks, I believe there were, including mine. So I think we had 13 speakers plus me. I should have probably had that number a little more on my brain, but I don't. So forgive me. But anyway, it might feel like this. Like you're just drinking almost from a fire hose. I think that's a sprinkler. But it kind of feels like this. And then sometimes it can also feel like this, where there's all these ideas in your brain and swirling, oh, do this, and this campaign, I do all this stuff. I mean, it's going on in my head, because the cool thing is I got to interview all these great speakers, and I intend to implement a lot of that into my own business. And so it can feel like, you got all this stuff going on. What do I do next? What's next? What's next? Well, what I've come to learn in life is sometimes we got to think less and just do more, but we got to make sure we're doing the right actions. So just to share with you, it's not one of those things where I was born as someone who is a action-taking entrepreneur. This is, if you've been to some of my lives that I've done in the past, and I think I even shared this story in my talk at the summit, this is a picture of my biggest mistake, at least in business. This is a golf club that I purchased in 2004, 2005. I don't know the exact year because my eBay account doesn't go back that far. I thought I was going to make all this money because I bought them for $40 each, and I went on Nike.com. So these are golf clubs. If you play golf, you know that nobody really has a 4-wood. Everyone has like 3. Most people, I should say, have 3 woods, 5 woods, driver, their irons, the putter. People don't usually have 4 woods. It's kind of an odd thing. But I thought I had something special because I was bought it for $40. Nike.com. Suggested retail price by the manufacturer, MSRP, is $400. What I didn't take into account was that is the suggested retail price. That is not the actual price people are paying. I went back and looked on eBay after my credit card's already processed, and I realized, well, everyone else is paying $40. So if everyone else is paying $40, why would someone pay $400? So I let my brain talk myself into, or at least my fear talk myself into, I should say, not doing anything. So I just left it all there. And basically I lost 10 years of business. I didn't get back into e-commerce until 2015. And so I think back to the golf club is still in the wrap, even after all these years, with now at least 15 years now. I let myself get taken advantage of by my fears because I was overthinking things. I was afraid of what to do. Whereas the reality is, I mean, what would have happened if I had, let's say, tried selling it? Let's say I lost even a little bit of money. What would I have done? I would have learned. I would have gotten momentum. I would have gotten a snowball going. I would have really capitalized on those 10 years, and I can never get those 10 years back from 04, 05, let's call it 2005 to 2015, my dark days of entrepreneurship. So I could have done so much, but I let myself get it in the way. So that's just my kind of caution to everybody. And really what we want to do is when we're thinking about what to do, just kind of take it one step at a time. So let's say, you watched all these speakers and you're like, oh, they're talking about this and bid optimization and Amazon, and they got to do DSP ads and video ads, and then do Facebook, and then do all these other stuff. And then, do Google ads and do Google shopping. And then there's 4 core campaigns that Bobby talked about. And then there's this and there's that. Like, it's easy my brain even is doing that sometimes. But what we got to do is we got to take control of our brain and decide what are those next steps to do. Because, you really can only focus on so much at a time. And really, whenever you're taking action on one thing in a moment, you're only doing one thing at a time. So you can only take one step at a time. When you go up a staircase, maybe you go from the first step to the third step to the fifth step. So you're skipping a step or whatever, but you're still only putting your foot on one step at a time. It's kind of like that in business. You can only focus on too many things. Like multitasking is not a good idea. And have someone who oftentimes does try to multitask, it's not always a good idea, because we want to focus on what is going to have the biggest impact in now. So what we want to do is find like-minded people too. I've come to learn is that, when you go out there and you network, maybe strike up conversation, it's harder to do now because we're all still kind of coming, depending where you live, maybe you can kind of come out of the house every now and then, but there's not really live events and stuff like that. So, you can go online and meet people, you can connect. The thing I will say is, if you want somebody to be an accountability partner, you may have seen this in groups before, where all of a sudden someone says, "Hey, who wants to be my accountability partner?" Da, 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 da. And maybe sometimes they get like a bunch of people responding. Guess what? Those are not the people you want to network with. You want people that are a little more vetted, a little bit more the right people. And sometimes that takes a little bit extra work of just, if you start seeing somebody maybe in a Facebook group or a forum and they're commenting a lot, and, maybe they see you commenting and Facebooking and stuff, and sharing knowledge with people and stuff like that. And maybe, you guys strike up a conversation in private message or something like that, but it's like, when I got married, I didn't walk up to my wife the first day and say, "Hey, let's get married." It was, a courtship process. So oftentimes, if you're looking for someone, especially online, because you never know who the other person is. It could be a complete psycho. You might not like the other person. If you just say, "Hey, who wants to, start a mastermind together?" It's great having people on your side and finding like-minded people, but you got to be kind of careful about it. But don't let that get in your way of finding people. I mean, like the summit, for example, a lot of them were personal contacts of mine, people that were speakers, and where sometimes I didn't have contacts. It was either a referral to someone, or I just made sure to create some level of, and this is the insider trick, you're trying to find people to help you. And this is getting to PPC, don't worry. You want to find people that are, that you have some sort of commonality with. And so as time goes on and you start building up your network within, e-commerce, then your network gets bigger and you have more people that you can go to and things of that nature. So next up, what I want to also do is, you want to get clarity. And I like this picture because, you're getting your own clarity as you're seeing things better. But at the same time, too, when you got that core group of people that maybe you can go to and ask questions of, is that we're all guilty of this. I actually literally just earlier tonight was in a mastermind meeting at 5 my time. So it was that like 4 hours ago. And, it's easy to see sometimes the problems in other people's businesses, but it's not as easy to see it in your own. And it's the same thing. You can watch it around the group. Someone that's like, really good at sharing, like, "Oh, you should do this, do that." And they've got great insight into whatever. And then all of a sudden it's their turn to kind of share the hot seat, so to speak. And they're not, it's like a completely different situation. And, it's very vulnerable, and that's normal. So sometimes we got to find those people that can see the forest through the trees, so to speak, because sometimes we can't see because we're so emotionally wrapped into our businesses to know what it is. So it's good to find those people that can be your accountability partners, maybe help you see the forest through the trees, so to speak, and things of that nature. So definitely, continue working on your network. And that may say, like, "Whoa, I thought this was going to be about next steps with PPC." It really is. Now, what's a little bit more close to home, some things that you can ask yourself as you're trying to decide, like, what am I going to do with these PPC campaigns and all this great knowledge I just got out of the summit? So one thing is there anywhere you need to just stop the bleeding? So are there campaigns that are just, the ACOS is 120%, you're losing money. That like certain keywords are just not performing, or if you're looking at things in terms of Google, the return on ad spend is less than 1, which would be bad. So it's one of those things where you're just looking at first, what are the urgent things? It's like, if the building is burning, you got to put the fire out. So what are those things you got to do right away? And if you focus on that, you can't just do that forever. You got to start looking at like what's going to be next. So I think the next thing is what is working. So what are those things that you're in your business right now that you're already doing and you're doing well that you can scale? And then what are your biggest opportunities right now? So maybe the things that maybe you're not doing, but those things that maybe you watched in the PPC Mastery Summit. Oh, and you're like, that's something I want to put into play in my business. Well, I think this is where the people come into play. So if you ask, an accountability group, or if you find someone that you mastermind with and things of that nature, you can ask them like, hey, what do you think about this? Now, at the end of the day, you're still responsible for your own decisions in your business, but it's good getting outside perspective of like, oh, is that really a good idea? Should I focus on that? Oh, maybe this is really where I should be. And you can get some ideas. I don't want to get too deep in the weeds on what that looks like, because it could be different for you than it could be for someone else. But these are at least some questions you can ask yourself. And then I know another thing that oftentimes ends up is very natural. We watch a couple different speakers now. Of course, there were some speakers that contradicted each other, and that's to be expected because they're giving their perspectives, what they have found works, and which one is right. Which one should you put into your business? Maybe both, maybe none. So ask yourself, if I put some sort of tactic or campaign structure, putting certain keywords in certain ones, certain matches in another campaign or an ad group versus variations together or apart or whatever the case is it going to help you? Or does it just sound interesting? So if it just sounds interesting, ask yourself, is it a shiny object, or is it something that's actually going to help you maybe better manage the campaigns or better manage your ad spend? And if you're trying to better manage the ad spend, why is that? Is it because maybe you're going back to the, stopping the bleeding? Maybe you're having trouble with managing certain campaigns, because we all have them. Certain campaigns are just, they're harder to manage for whatever reason. So maybe you do want to split things off a little bit differently, or do what one speaker said in one instance and another speaker said in another instance. But just ask yourself, why are you doing it? And not just because someone said it was the best way. Because with a lot of things on Amazon, Google, or whatever, you're going to find all kinds of different people. They're going to tell you all kinds of different ways of doing things. So don't get stuck in paralysis of analysis like I did with the golf club and end up doing nothing because too many different people had, conflicting opinions. So really just ask yourself, if you do want to implement something like a different structure, is it going to help you, or is it just sound interesting? And then ask yourself, and this is an important thing, really, what do you want out of your business? Where do you want to be in the next year, 3 years, 5 years? So then you can start asking yourself those questions of, is this going to help me? So like, for example, if you want to sell your business in 5 years, well, most business brokers are going to tell you, if you're getting traffic from, outside of Amazon, for example, and you've got Facebook ads and Google ads, and, you built an email list, that's going to be more attractive to a buyer and make your business worth more. Maybe that's not step one of what you need to do, but maybe that's something you need to do in the next couple months to start the process. Maybe once you kind of stop the bleeding and started really focusing on the opportunities you have now, but maybe that is something you need to do. Or maybe you just want to go all in on Amazon. And so maybe it's not something you want to do Google shopping ads. Is there a right or wrong answer? Not necessarily. No, I should say, no, there really is no right or wrong answer. You just got to decide what you want to do and be clear as to why you want to do it. And then I like to focus on kind of what's going to be in the next 6 weeks. I know some people say 13 weeks, which is about, 1/4 of a year. I think that's great, but I also like to shorten the time frame, because I've found, if I keep telling myself I'm going to do it, there's the saying, someday I'll, if I'm going to go visit someday I'll, the island of someday, chances are it'll never get done. Or, tomorrow is oftentimes, as they say, one of the busiest days of our lives, because it's always putting something off to tomorrow. So I find if I compress the time to get something done, and it's somewhat, realistic. Maybe it's a little bit of a stretch, but I'm not trying to do everything I want to get over the next 5 years done in the next 6 weeks. But if I compress it, down to something manageable, I'm more likely to get it done. It was like when I wanted to do the PPC Mastery Summit, I said, let's just get this done. And so I just said, let's do it in like 3 weeks. It would have been very easy to say, well, let's perfect everything, make sure I got everything right. Like, I'll be honest with you, on the ad there with the speakers, different lighting and different whatever. Some people would have nitpicked that. I actually had a guy in a Facebook ad for the summit say he didn't want to learn Photoshop from me. I'm like, well, that's fine. You don't have to learn Photoshop. I wasn't even the one photoshopping, but it's little details like that. Like, is it really going to matter? Whereas, if you're watching this, you must have had a good enough experience at the summit to want to come figure out kind of next steps. So it's one of those things that you're figuring out what is the most important thing and start compressing time. Don't try to make everything perfect is really what I'm trying to get at, because perfection just gets in our way of progress. And so then figure out ways to hold yourself accountable. Like, I'll use the PPC Mastery Summit as an example. I was pretty much on the hook when I said, hey, the May 26th to the 28th, here's the speakers. We're going to have a talk for all these different speakers, and you can come join us. And so I really was putting myself out there and saying, this is something I needed to accomplish. So it comes down to, I think, the power of deadlines. And so, there's that saying that your goals are just basically dreams with deadlines. And so the more we can really focus on a game plan and just buckle down and get it done, and then just start planting those seeds, it's little actions. It's not the big things. It's little actions taken consistently. And what I've come to find, and I'm sure you can probably relate to this too, is you plant all these different seeds. Some of them work out and they grow to be amazing things, and other things, seeds you planted and you thought it was going to be something huge, they don't always work out as well as you had hoped. And that's totally normal. And that's why we got to keep planting different seeds and keep trying things, but we don't try to throw all the seeds down at once. Like, if you look in this picture, they're kind of, stacked in a row. Maybe they're not stacked, but they're lined up, I should say, in a row. And there's a little bit of a trough that they're putting in. So they're planting seeds in a certain method, and they're just being consistent. Like, so maybe with your PPC campaigns, it's going back and consistently checking them, consistently finding new keywords, maybe consistently trying a little something different. So not everything is constantly this chaos of trying a bunch of different things, but trying things are going to work, fixing the things aren't working, and then trying new things that maybe are a new strategy or a new type of campaign or a new platform or whatever the case is. But we're trying all those different things to figure out, is this what I need to do next? So, the next seed to plant is the next seed to plant. Just keep moving forward and keep making progress there. So then, the thing of it is, we've got our 3 best investments. These are the things I've come to learn, is that whenever I invest in myself, I can't lose. The return on investment is always 100%. And so, whether it's, like you're investing your time to watch this, this live training, you are investing in yourself. Investing in relationships, like I was talking about before. Like, if you don't necessarily have that core group of people to, talk with, to share ideas, hey, help me see the forest through the trees, help me get clarity, things of that nature, help hold me accountable, then, work on that. Relationships take time. This is not a get rich quick scheme. This is a build something awesome that can last the test of time scheme. Maybe scheme is not the right word. But, well, scheme can be the right word. But anyway, and it's total side note there. But anyway, we want to take the right actions. And so as long as I'm taking actions and not chasing shiny object syndromes, and because the problem with shiny object syndromes, if we're not careful of trying too many different things, it takes us away from the core things we know are working. And so if you take these 3 things together and put together accountability, that is what will get you to do great things and get the results you really are after. And I came to find, I'll use the example 2005 to 2015. I mean, I was a big lurker too in the entrepreneurial space. Like, I started listening to all kinds of different podcasts and YouTube videos and reading blog posts and all this stuff. And I just thought I just needed more information. I needed more information. It was not more information I needed. I needed more action. I needed, to find other people. So I ended up finding, at least one person that we met, initially for a little bit of span of time, and that helped me figure things out and get that snowball rolling. And it was small at first, and over time it got bigger, and got to a point where I was able to leave my job, and then I was able to develop relationships where I was able to plan an in-person conference and with really cool speakers there, and then also have the PPC Mastery Summit, and then now I've got cool people that I'm working on right now for the next summit, which you'll find out more about later. But just stick around, I promise there'll be something cool there. But anyway, a lot of it all comes down to accountability. So accountability really is the glue, and that's not just other people holding yourself accountable. It's being supportive, of course, but it's you got to hold yourself accountable. In your relationships, you got to hold each other accountable, and you got to hold yourself accountable to taking the right actions. So if that's kind of making sense to you, I mean, I hope so. So, does that make sense? So if you'd like to, figure out a way to get an individualized clarity, not just, Kevin's high level ideas, which we'll get into Q&A here in a moment, but if you want more individualized clarity, a plan of action that you can actually work on and start figuring, okay, these are the steps I need to take, like, let's say over the next 6 weeks. And develop a group of like-minded sellers that can be your accountability partners. It could be your support, be your ability to, ask questions and things like that. And just actually, really help you be supportive in that accountability to stay on the right track so that, you've got your plan of attack, you got the people there supporting you, and you've got the accountability to make sure it's all happening as you're investing in yourself and your time and your energy. And with PPC ads, you're investing your money, and you're wanting a return on that investment. You don't want to just blow money on things that aren't working. You want to make sure things are working. So does that sound like something you'd be interested in doing? And so what I've put together here is the PPC Mastery Accelerator Program. This is something I had no idea I was even going to do until the summit started. I started thinking about it, like I'm getting all these questions, people asking, what do I do next? And I've got all these, different ideas, and I like this speaker, but then that speaker says something else. And then, sometimes they directly conflict with one another, which is fine again. Or sometimes, you got different speakers and they're giving different advice on different topics. One person saying do sponsored brands and do videos, and another one saying do Google shopping, and another one saying run auto campaigns on Amazon, and someone else is saying something else. And it's like, what's the right thing for me? Well, again, sometimes it's good just to have other people to talk to, and to have accountability of, what are those next steps that are forward. So in this accelerator program that I'm putting together here, what it is a 6-week program. Small group would be no more than 8, might even be smaller than that. Depends on how we end up divvying it up as far as time zones and skill level and stuff like that. We want to try to get people as close together as possible. So it wouldn't be any more than 8. So everyone's getting to meet each other, weekly coaching calls. They would also get 2 one-on-one sessions with me in this program. Where basically you get 1 30-minute session where we go over kind of figuring out where you're at now and kind of what the things are that you need to work on. And then another one towards the end where we figure out, okay, now that you've learned all this stuff and now we work together and figured stuff out, what is that next thing you need to do? And so, this is basically almost like really a mastermind in a sense. And it will have an exclusive Facebook group where you can, bounce ideas off of one another. So it really creates a way to, get feedback and things of that nature when it's not just the weekly call, but the weekly call helps to create accountability. But when you have ideas and questions, and the nice thing is when it's a more tight-knit group of invested people that want to learn from one another and that are, that higher level person than you're going to see like in a Facebook group with 50,000 people. Maybe those people are there, but they're harder to sift through when you got all these other people that are just throwing out their advice and you don't even know who they are. Whereas here, at least, like, oh, I've had a couple meetings in the small group coaching session with that person. I know that's a great person. And, you get to know and get a trust and a bond. And I've found that oftentimes, in small groups that I've been in, oftentimes I'm still friends with them years later. I was just corresponding by email with someone who was probably the first person in my entrepreneurial career before I even decided to get back into the world of e-commerce. He and I started meeting together in early 2015 before I got back into e-commerce. And it was just that, sharing of ideas back and forth was a huge game changer for me. And so this helps give you that, as well as you also get lifetime access to the recordings of the PPC Summit. So if you don't already have the recordings, this would be something that would get you, access back into that. So, if you're looking at that, like, what is the value of all this? So, those weekly small group coaching sessions, I mean, that's about a $2,000 value. Let's say $19.99. Don't want to make it sound like I'm exaggerating. 2 one-on-one sessions with me, that would be at least $400, probably underpricing myself, but that's about what I'm charging now. Charging at least about $200 per meeting for those types of meetings. When it's like in-depth consulting. As well as, the Facebook group. When you're talking about finding the right people and having it vetted, that's, at least $500. When you think about like, when you can trust the people in there and people are good people and they're, working together to go in the right direction, that's invaluable. But I just had to put a price on that. So let's just say that's about a $500 value, as well as the retail price for the lifetime access. That's the rack rate is $399 for the PPC Mastery Summit, which, when you look at the value of what people were able to get out of that summit, it's at least that. So we're talking about $3,298 in value for all of that, which will be, let's say, $1,399. I can give as a deal. So I think that's really the price. That's, I think, a good fair price, of what that would be. Now, this is a new program. So working out, working out all the logistics. And so because it is a little bit new program, and so I'm asking for, a little bit of a leap of faith in the people that haven't signed up yet. I'm going to offer it for just $899. So this is a program where, again, walking you through small group coaching sessions. You get 2 one-on-one sessions with me, an exclusive Facebook group with other people in that group, as well as lifetime access to the recordings of the PPC Mastery session. All that for just $899. And so if that sounds like something you're interested in, basically you would just go to maximizingecommerce.com/PPC program, all one word. You fill out an application. It's real simple. In fact, that's a screenshot of what it looks like. You pay a $100 non-refundable application fee. If we just decide, hey, this isn't the right thing for you for this point in your business, then we would refund you. The $100 is basically saying you have skin in the game and you want to do this. And so because this is $899, we would just charge the remaining $799 on Monday, June 15th. And then you could pay, if you'd rather, 3 payments of $299. So that'd be $299 when we got started, June 15th. So it'd be the week of June 15th we got started. I would get with everyone to kind of figure out what is the best schedule for everybody in that particular group. And, basically, again, 3 payments of $299 split up, about 30 days apart. And then if you have already purchased the recordings, either on your last payment, whatever your last payment, I'll just say that is, we'll subtract out the value of what you paid for the recordings. So whatever that is, you basically are getting your money back on that. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, I do need to get moving on this and start figuring out, like, what are the logistics, who's in. That's why I need to have the $100 deposit. And if for whatever reason this just isn't going to work out, you'll get your money back. But I just need to know that you are in as well as the people in the group. It's just fair to everybody to know. So it'd be filling out your application as well as just $100 deposit to hold your spot. We do have limited spaces available because, as I said, these are small groups. Wouldn't put any more than 8 people. It might be really small group, which gives you more time to go over your particular situations. And, the thing of it is, I've already got people that have signed up, people that are, asking me questions. I'm not rolling this out today. So this is something I rolled out last week at the Q&A with Ed last Friday. So if this is something you're interested in, again, just go to PPC, go to maximizingecommerce.com/PPC program. Now you might be wondering, who's this for? If you are looking for, basically fast tracking towards your results, I can't guarantee what your results will be, of course, but as I'm sure you can imagine, when you're around other people, there's a sense of the rising tide lifts all ships. You get my insight, you get the insight of other people who are very like-minded, trying to figure all this stuff out. So you're gonna find other people will help you, and just it becomes kind of like an energy. So if that's what you're looking for, if you're an action taker that's ready to take your business to the next level, this is definitely something for you. Now, who is this not for? So if you're just going to not take the work, do the work, or, you don't want to contribute to the group, you just want everyone else to kind of fix your problems for you. That's not the person who this is for. This is for people who are action takers, the people that want to invest in themselves, invest in relationships with other people, and invest in getting that accountability to make sure they're on the right path, taking the right actions. And like I was saying before, helping them see the forest through the trees. So again, total price for this between the deposit and the final payment is $899. And again, I will subtract out of whatever your last payment that you end up making is. I will subtract that out of the last payment if you bought the recordings, and I've got record of that. And if you want, you can of course send me your receipt. But that's basically the gist of this. I think this is going to be a really exciting program. I'm excited for, the people that are, either contacting me with questions or have already paid their deposit, or people that are really into this. And so if you are someone who you want to find that tribe, so to speak, that group of people to help you with this, this could be the thing that helps push you forward. So if all this did was just at least give you some accountability and get you going in the right direction, would it be worth $899? Ask yourself that question. If it is, then ask yourself the next question. Are you in a situation where you could potentially recoup your money back on this relatively quickly? If you started getting more sales, or if you're able to scale your costs back, what would that look like for you to get your money back and then some potentially? So again, I can't use any words to guarantee what your results will be. The only thing I can guarantee in business is that if you don't do something like I did with the golf clubs back in 2005-ish, I can guarantee your results will be zero. So if you don't want the results out of the PPC Mastery Summit, don't do anything at all. Now, granted, you don't have to join this program to get results, but you got to start taking some sort of action. And now, if this is what will help you take that action, will it be worth that to you? Ask yourself that question. So now I'm going to go ahead and open it up to questions. So what questions do you have that I can answer for you? Feel free to leave them in the chat. It looks like we've got Todd here. Todd, welcome aboard. Looks like you tagged someone in there. Thank you for tagging your friend. Yes, we've got one of our action takers right here. Glad to see you there. Hunter Na, I won't say your full name, although I know who your name is because you're one of the people that's already joined the group. So you can join awesome people like Hunter Na, which you'll learn her real name, just because that's her public facing name. I won't say the actual name, but yes, take action. Action is very important. So again, what questions do you have? So I wanted to say, it looks like kudos to the people that have joined on. Some of the people that have given us either a like or a heart here are Marco Furland, Hunter Na, who I just said, Hannah K. Welcome, Evelyn Rasweller, Morali Churitz, Brian Reitgen, Eva Jackson Ketchum, and Shane Fosdor. So welcome all of you. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the chat. Now, one of the things I know that comes up when people are asking themselves, like, okay, what is that next level thing? So, one of the things you could do right now is you could open up Seller Central, go into, your ads accounts there in Seller Central and just go lifetime. So change the view for days to lifetime, and then you can sort by ACOS. Sort by ACOS. What's getting you the highest ACOS and the lowest ACOS? Then sort by cost. So that's going to tell you your costs. Like, what has been the most expensive campaigns for you? And then focus on impressions. Now, the ones that are giving you a lot of sales with a lot of impressions and a lot of profit, so the ACOS is relatively low, those are ones you might want to look at. Would be maybe your first ones to go into and start tweaking. And so those would be kind of your next ones to go into and say, okay, these are ones I want to maybe make some of these exact match campaigns, or these are ones maybe I want to split into their own campaign so they have their own budget because certain keywords are doing really well. And that would be something to take a look at. So those are the things you want to think about, as to what are your next steps. All right. So got another question here from Brian. Hey, Kevin, if I want to do one-on-one coaching with you without the mastermind, would you do that? If so, what's the best way to get in touch with you? Message me directly. It's not something I normally do. Brian, I've met you and I know that you're an action taker, so I'm sure we could probably figure something out. Just my thing with one-on-one coaching is I want to make sure it's something that's going to be beneficial both for myself and the other person, because at the end of the day, it's an investment of time, for the other person, but it's also an investment of time for me. So I want to make sure the person's going to, take action. And actually, Brian's been in a mastermind, so that I was in. So I guess you can call him alumni access. So, all right. So next up, Brian, if you've got my email address, just send me an email or shoot me a direct message in Facebook or Instagram or whatever. So if you are interested, just real quick, just since Brian brought up the mastermind, but if you are interested in joining the Accelerator Program, you can go to maximizingecommerce.com/PPC program. And I would be honored to have you on. Again, all you got to do is put down $100 as your deposit, which is basically saying I have skin in the game and I'm in this, not just the application. Still fill out the application. You fill out the application in the next screen. If you decide, hey, I just don't want to do this, you don't have to. So basically, you fill out the application, then you get to the next screen. If you get to that next screen, you say, I really do want to pull my credit card out and I really do want to make the $100 deposit, then we'll go ahead and hold your spot. So if we're holding your spot, we're going to charge you either the payment plan, which you can let me know if you want to go on the payment plan. Otherwise, we're going to charge you the full amount on that Monday, June the 15th. So looks like we got another question here. We'll be going over some examples that some of the speakers shared, example seller labs and how to best utilize it. Yeah, we're going to be going over some specific campaigns and giving everyone some homework of things to do. I'm going to keep it relatively tool agnostic, but if you want to use certain tools, we're going to be focusing more on the strategies. So we're going to be focusing in on the strategies of what are the things that you need to do and kind of like the next step. And that's what we're going to be focusing on in this. And it's going to be a lot of fun. You're going to enjoy it. And now, just to give everybody, if you got another question, feel free to drop it in the chat there. But really what it comes down to is you're in a situation where we all are, where we're constantly having to tweak things on our paid ad campaigns. It may seem like one of those things, like it's like, oh, it's already all figured out, I can just leave it alone. I've made that mistake before where I'm like, oh, I've got everything dialed in. Something changes, some new competitors come in, algorithm changes, Amazon does something with, how they figure out bids or whatever. And now all of a sudden, what I thought was all dialed in is now a mess. So now I go back in and now figure out the bleeding stage. And so, or sometimes I launch a campaign and it just didn't go quite as well as I thought right away. So this is where things come in for you. So when you're looking at things and you're trying to decide, okay, what is that next step when you're trying to figure out, again, with what are the things that are bleeding? So if you think about it, if you took your selling price minus whatever fees you pay Amazon, or if it's on another platform, you could do this, follow the same math. Like, what is your fulfillment fees or shipping? Do you have a commission you have to pay? So Amazon, generally it's 15%. Some categories is a little different, but let's just use 15 as the example. So, if you figure out your costs, so let's say your fulfillment fee on a product, I'm just going to pull a number out of thin air, but let's just say it's $4 and you're selling the product for 20. So if you have a 15% commission, that's $3. So 20 minus 3 minus 4. So $20 selling price, $3 commission, $4 for the fulfillment fee. So we're subtracting out 7. So now our cash flow coming back to us from Amazon is going to be 13. But we also got to figure out we had to pay for that product. So let's say we paid $6 for that product. So now we got $7. So 7 out of 20 is, using my quick math, a 35%. Yes, 35%. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments on that. It's a 35% break even, or our margin is 35%. So that means if your campaign is going at 40%, that's a timeout. Do I need to adjust some keywords in that campaign, or timeout? Is this okay because I'm launching the product and I want to just get sales going? Or did I just run out of stock and I just need to get sales going? So I'm okay with that. Or are you selling something like supplements where you're hoping people either subscribe and save, or you get a certain number of customers that come back, or you're just trying to feed the algorithm to stay on the first page because you're in a competitive niche? So maybe it makes sense there. Now, if it's maybe 150%, you might look at it as the sky's falling no matter what. In some cases, it might be okay to have that high of an ACoS, but you just want to look at that. So, again, go through your campaigns, look at both the lifetime level to figure out what has been your biggest wins and what have been your things that seem to be burning overall over time. That's one of the things that Edward from Seller Labs brought up, which I thought was a really good idea, is if you make your view to lifetime, and then you go back and you look at all your campaigns and you figure out, like, okay, this keyword's never performed and I've been doing this for 2 years, or whatever the case is. I've had this campaign going for 2 years. This is probably one I want to take off. And so that's okay. You can take that one out. But start looking at those things and then start maybe tightening your time frame as to, hey, what is my time frame of what I want to do next? And so my question to you is, what's next for you? I can't tell you what that is. So hopefully this has been a helpful conversation here. We're at least giving you some things to think about. If you decide it is right for you to do the Accelerator Program, then again, just want to bring it up real quick. It is a program. We're going to have, small groups. It'll be less than 8. So that way you get enough time to get your questions answered, talk to other people that are, trying to figure things out. So it's basically like a mastermind, but it's focusing on PPC. Now we can answer some of your other questions. You're getting 2 one-on-one sessions with me. You're getting an exclusive Facebook group. You're getting lifetime access to the recordings of the PPC Mastery Summit. And instead of a $32.98 value, instead of having to pay all that, where I see this in the long-term pricing is $13.99, which I think is very competitively priced. But because this is relatively new, I'm charging just $8.99, and you can get on board by going to maximizingecommerce.com/PPC program. And all you got to do is, do that today, and you can hold your spot. So again, $100, fill out the application, and your spot is held for. And if for whatever reason it's not going to work out, I will give you your money back. Your $100 is signifying to us that you are in, and then we'll just charge you the difference when it's the week that we're going to get started, which will be June 15th. And then I'll just work with everybody within the group to figure out what is the best timing. So again, thank you for coming on this live session. This is a lot of fun. I love doing these things. So I will be doing more of these, and look out in the future for more summits. This was a lot of fun. Again, I had no idea what to expect out of the summit. It's been more than I thought it was going to be. We ended up having, again, over 500 people sign up, 13 amazing speakers. And so I'm working on an awesome speaker lineup for the next thing. So I won't say exactly what it is, but it won't be PPC. It'll be something e-commerce related, of course. So thank you so much. And I'm going to wish you the best. Have an awesome night, day, wherever it is where you are, or whenever it is you're watching it. So take care. Bye-bye.